911, what is the absolute
Somebody got shot. Somebody got shot. His mom got shot.
Okay,
we see
sir.
His mom's laying in the grass, but
Sir.
nobody wants to go over there. We ain't trying to get shot.
When responders reached the address, a tragic and disturbing scene awaited them.
I got it. Where's she shot at?
Right here.
Right here.
Chest, right here. Right side of chest.
Okay.
There's no exit.
The officers tried to give 35-year-old Ajike AJ Owens CPR. However, she succumbed to her injury, which was a gunshot wound to her chest. And to make matters more grim, it all happened in front of her young son and his friends.
I don't know where I hear the big bang.
Okay.
I'm just running.
Did you actually see anybody with any kind of gun, anything like that, or did you just hear?
I just hear running.
Okay. What did you see after that?
I don't know. I came outside and I saw my first mom on the ground.
Okay.
The lady who shot AJ turned out to be Susan Lawrence, and she was apprehended almost immediately after the tragic shooting.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Turn around! Turn around! Where's your gun at?
You got hands? You got hands?
You're going to be detained for
Is there anybody else in the house?
There's somebody else in the house. Can I just get my
No.
Is there any reason why anybody would have any video or anything like that of you saying like the N-word? Is there any reason why someone would have that?
I have no idea. And if I did let it go, I'm sorry. I could have slipped out.
You're under arrest. Let's get you handcuffed.
No.
Stand up.
No, don't touch me.
Susan. Stand up, Susan.
No.
The interrogation not only exposed hidden secrets, but also revealed Susan Lawrence's true racist nature, along with her deep-rooted hatred against her neighbor.
I don't want to be intimidated by them screaming and yelling at me, telling me I'm calling me Karen. They're calling me names.
The call was made at about 9 p.m. by Susan's neighbor, who had just witnessed a sudden yet horrifying scene. 35-year-old mother, Ajike AJ Owens, was shot to death in front of her 10-year-old son. But even before she was shot, the dispatchers already had an idea of what was going on in the neighborhood. Why? Susan had dialed 911 at 8:54 p.m. to inform that some neighbors' kids were creating problems for her. Then again, at 8:59 p.m., she called the police to inform them about AJ banging on her door. However, at 9:01, Susan called 911 yet again, but this time to tell them that she had shot AJ.
911 was the address of the emergency.
Oh my God, this lady just tried to break down my door. I saw it through the door. Oh my God. They were trying to come in my house.
Okay, take a deep breath for me, calm down.
Oh my God.
You said someone tried to break down your door, is that correct?
Yes, the woman was screaming and yelling and she was trying to break down my door.
It looked like a case of self-defense at first. However, when the details started to pour in, it soon became a much more complicated situation. When the dispatchers arrived, they first sent AJ, who was shot in the chest, to the hospital, and then they immediately placed Susan in handcuffs. Even though it all seemed like self-defense, it was important for the police to treat her as a suspect rather than a victim initially. With that, the officers took her in for an interrogation that very night. Although nothing important came to light during the initial interrogation, the story held the possibility of a murder instead of self-defense. However, it was important to get to the very bottom of it. Susan was allowed to go on that day as the police continued their investigation. They went around the neighborhood to ask about the details of the shooting, and it all pointed towards one thing. Susan had murdered AJ. So with that record, the police brought in Susan on June 5th, 2023 for another interrogation. This time, it would be a more detailed one.
I appreciate you coming back in and talking. Meet the witness. You already have a water? Is there anything else I can get for you right now?
Fine.
You're doing okay? All right, very good. Again, if you remember Detective Stiff, this is Detective
I'm Detective Pender. I haven't got a chance to meet you yet, but I'm looking forward to being able to speak with you. I work with Detective Stiff. We work together. I was learning different things. So, anyways, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and let him cover what he needs to, and then I'll get a chance to meet you then, okay?
So, Susan, obviously when we spoke the other night, it was kind of a lot of things going on still. A lot of the pieces of what happened were still trying to be put together. Since then, we've, obviously talked to a lot more witnesses who were there. We've gained access to some video from around the area of where your complex is located. So, during those interviews, during that process of obtaining new stuff, obviously it brings new questions that we wanted to kind of cover with you, try to verify some of the stuff you said, as well as clarify things that we don't quite understand. So I was hoping that we could do that today. Obviously, just like last time, I want to make sure that you understand your rights and everything. So before we get started, I just have to read you the same thing I did last time. Yes.
Okay.
The first thing that the detectives need to uncover is the relationship between Susan and AJ.
Let me just understand this a little better, because I'm not really sure. So the woman that got shot, what is her name?
AJ.
AJ. Right, it's AJ. Yeah. Okay, and how long have you known her?
I really didn't know her. I just, she was a neighbor across the street.
Okay, so how long has she been a neighbor across the street from you? Help me understand that.
A year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, year and a half and 2 years. And in that year and a half and 2 years, how many times have you guys been able to talk?
We've never talked. It's more like screaming.
No, okay, all right. So maybe better would be communicate. How many times have you guys been able to communicate in that year and a half or 2 years?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times. And in those 2 or 3 times over a year and a half and 2 years, what were you guys screaming about? What were you guys communicating about?
She would take her dog and walk it on my sidewalk to make sure she's on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Of all the places you can walk and take your animal, you're going to come here. And
sure.
She said, it's the only place my dog will go to the bathroom.
Okay. So
no, I don't think so.
Okay. So you guys would have a disagreement regarding that, some screaming regarding the dog pooping where it shouldn't. What else would you guys communicate about in that 2 or 3 times?
Then one time she was talking to the neighbors and she said, oh, it was crazy. And I went, no, I'm not going to, sorry. I walked over, I said, what is your problem? And she just went on a tirade. I have never heard someone scream like this woman. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, she exploded. And I'm like, oh, shit.
How long ago was that?
2 months ago.
2 months?
2 or 3 months ago. And then she was saying I called her kids all kinds of names. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And the more I said no, the more irate she got. Finally, I'm like, what, let me just back off, say yes, I'll apologize, and scurry away.
What kind of things was she saying that you called her kids?
That I called them racial slurs, that I called them slaves, and that's never happened. I mean, when she said, oh, I want you to stop already, stop lying,
It's quite clear that Susan and AJ were not exactly best friends. All of their interactions were based on arguments. But this fact is actually very important for the detectives, as this could potentially be a reason for the shooting. But this is just the start, and a lot of things are about to be unveiled.
And I was like, enough, what? I did call them retards once, because they just kept coming and coming. I said, are you retarded? You can't read the sign?
Okay.
How many times do we have to tell you you're trespassing?
Now, all these kids nowadays, they have tablets and phones and stuff. Are you, you can tell us the truth. It's just us in here. I think we were looking at different videos and people were telling us about, we spoke to everyone in the neighborhood separately. Mm-hmm. Was there other times when you got frustrated or something with these kids and you said something else that we're not talking about? Have you said other words to them or something about middle fingers or something? Tell me about that.
It wasn't at the kids, it was at the gentleman.
Who's the gentleman?
I only know him by his name, Sapito.
So, okay.
So he's a guy, he gets all the kids together, so they're screaming and yelling and they're doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, stop already. And I asked him, I said, please stop. I don't like the yelling. I just, I'm sort of going to break down.
Now, take your time. What is the crazy stuff that Sapito has these kids doing? Tell me about that.
He used to ride a four-wheeler.
Uh-huh.
And he would come around the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Then he'd have the kids on the back, no helmets, no nothing. And I'm like, stop already. The one time I went out there, he almost hit me.
Uh-huh.
He was like, missed you. Jesus Christ, really? And I'm like, I just can't deal with it. I have an injury right now. I have aneurysm on my left kidney artery. If he hit me, he'd kill
me. So was it on last Friday that you were kind of giving him the middle finger then? Is that what I was understanding?
I may have given him the middle finger because it's just out there, and I took a picture, and he's like, "Oh, go take more pictures." I'm like, because.
What other kind of crazy things is he having these kids do? Is it something where
he would have them exercise and scream and yell, and the kids are like, "We're tired, stop, we're tired."
Is he like a coach, or do they play sports
I don't
or something?
know. I have no idea. And he's like, "Come on, get moving." And the kids are like, "No, we want to stop." He's like, "You can't stop."
Is he the father of one of those kids that live?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
I don't know who he is.
Regarding the problems with the screaming and yelling, Susan had called 911 numerous times before.
Why are they on private property that they have no means? I mean, they don't rent here.
Well, if those people aren't complaining, I can't kick them off that property.
Well, then I'll send a cease and desist letter to them.
Okay.
My lawyer do it.
Well, I mean, as long as they're not on your property, I mean, they can pretty much play wherever they want to play.
I don't want to be intimidated by them screaming and yelling at me, telling me calling me Karen. They're calling me names. Her said that she's going to come and drag my and beat me. When I started calling you because she wouldn't get out of my face. She just kept standing in front of me. I don't understand the attitude and stuff. She runs over there. Why do children have to be over here screaming at me? Stop. They know they're not supposed to be over here. They've been told many times. They've previously sold the trespassing sign. I don't know if he tells me to shut up to my face. I said, don't be disrespectful to me.
Susan had called 911 many times for a whole year between February 2022 and February 2023. Her complaints about the kids on the street were consistent. But it was important for the detective to find out what exhausted her patience and drove her to the point where she sought the unthinkable as the only answer.
Has there been anything that you've thought of since you and I last talked, in person at least, that you can remember that maybe at the time, because there was a lot of emotions and,
I don't know what else I could tell you, honestly.
Okay. So nothing that happened that night that you didn't remember at the time, or you just, like I said, there's a lot going on that you maybe didn't think to say.
I don't know what to tell you because I thought I told you everything.
Okay. All right. So some of the things, like I said, we were just trying to clarify because we were in the room together for a while talking, and we went over a lot of different things. So one of the things I wanted to clarify with you is and try to understand better is when Ajiko was at the door, when she approached the door, when was it that you realized that it was her coming to the door?
Because I said, "Who's there?"
Okay. How did you know someone was there initially? Was it because
it was a huge banging?
Okay.
Just pounding at that door.
Okay. So initially, there was no words. It was just the pounding. Yeah. That's what started the interaction there.
Yes.
And where was the pounding at initially? Where it first began?
The front door.
At the front door. Okay. Yes. How many times did she? But during that time, you didn't hear anything else. Did you think she went away?
No, I obviously knew she didn't go away because she was screaming while she was pounding.
Describe that. When you say screaming, describe what does that mean?
She was just, "You're not supposed to speak to my children this way. Why did you, and then she was saying, "I'm going to kill you." And I'm like, holy shit.
Susan was already cornered with evidence and testimonies against her, and just like any other usual murder suspect, she attempts to play the victim card.
So that's during the time where it was kind of quiet and thought that maybe she went away. Okay. And when the banging and the yelling started again, where were you at then?
I think I was in the kitchen.
Okay. All right. And then what happened?
And then she just kept banging and yelling. I'm like, "You need to leave. You're trespassing. Get off my porch. Get out of here. I'm not talking to you. Leave."
Okay. Who else was outside the door besides Ajiko?
No idea.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
So you went to the kitchen and she was still pounding on the door and yelling. And I know we've kind of gone over this a lot, but I want to make sure now we're getting more like in order of things, because the first time we talked, it was kind of just like it all came out all at once. And now that you've had a little bit of time to kind of think about things that happened again and try to get it in a good order that things happen, because it's very important to be able to say, okay, this happened first, this will happen next, so that we don't get them confused or anything.
Okay.
So after that initial silence where, well, no, I wouldn't say silence, but it got quiet,
At 8:59 p.m., Susan dials 911 and informs the dispatchers about the situation. But just within 2 minutes of her call to the police, she decides to do something disturbing.
We're talking about her banging on it 3 times, and then there's a pause, and there's everything else you just described, Detective Stitt. And you said that this was the time that she was going to come and kill you. That's confusing to me, because it sounds like you guys really didn't have any other times that she was going to come and kill you.
And she was saying she's going to kill me. I mean, she was verbalizing it. She was saying, "I'm going to kill you."
Okay.
That's how, it's not like this is the time she's going to come and kill me.
So I'm trying to get into your mind, and I'm trying to be brought to that moment, to why you believe that. And we were talking, you were in the bathroom, then you were in the kitchen. I mean, I know that she's saying something, and you're inside your house, and she's on the other side of that wall and that door. Were you able to ever see her, to see if she had anything in her hands?
There's no people or anything.
There's no people, thanks. Okay. Were you able to look through a window or anything to see if she had anything in her hands or anything?
No.
Okay. So you don't know if what's going on, but you can hear her voice.
Yes.
And you said that she's hitting the wall hard enough that, was it the door?
The mirror.
That the mirror's moving.
Yes.
And she's hitting the door.
She's hitting the door.
Okay. And there's no peephole or anything like that. You don't know who all's out there, but you can hear her voice.
Yes.
Okay. What made you shoot that spot on the door? It sounds like you had some experience with the gun, so bring me to that moment where what happened?
I grabbed the gun. I was shaking like a leaf, and the more she pounded, the more she screamed. I was like, "Stop, stop, stop. Go away, move away." She wouldn't move away. And finally, "I'm going to kill you." And that was the last time, and I just fired the weapon.
Okay. Was there a spot you picked or something like that?
I just kind of, there was the door. I knew she was at the door. Shot the door.
Her call to the police didn't matter, as she didn't even wait for 2 minutes before deciding to shoot at her front door with AJ standing behind it. This is something the detectives can't let go of. But first, they need to get more answers before they can confirm their already brewing suspicions.
Did you guys ever get in like a fight in the street or anything like that? No, nothing like that.
You gotta be kidding me. I'm sorry.
I gotta ask, because I don't know you that well.
Okay.
Did she ever brandish a weapon or anything like that, or something?
The only thing she ever did is she picked up the no trespassing sign and threw it at me and hit me.
Okay. And I know that the police came out a lot of times. Did the police ever come out for that time when she threw the sign?
Yeah, and then everybody in the neighborhood said, "Oh, we didn't see anything."
Okay.
So it was a he said, she said. So they said they couldn't charge anything.
Sure.
I'm like, all right.
And obviously you have a firearm. I haven't had a chance to ask you about this. Now, is that a gun that you've had for years? You just had it for a couple of weeks? Help me understand that.
No, over a year.
Okay, over a year. And where do you normally keep that secured in the house?
That's usually next. It was in a garbage can next to my bed.
Okay. And is it like?
Now that was the Remington that you're talking about that you got over a year ago?
Yes.
Okay, so when we were at the house, there was the other one, the 22 was a Ruger.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you had that firearm?
A few months.
Just a few months?
Yeah, not very long. And the only reason I did it is because it was so expensive to shoot the Remington.
Oh, with the 380 rounds?
The 380, yeah, way more expensive. So I got the little plinker, just target practice and stuff like that.
Are you experienced with firearms? You got 2 guns, and it sounds like you have the little plinker, and you know about the price of ammo. Are you well versed with them?
I used to be terrified of firearms, and then a friend said, you really can't defend yourself. He said you should think about getting a gun.
Okay.
So,
when did you first get a gun? Was it just, or did you have other guns historically?
No, I never did.
Okay.
I first bought a 9mm, but it was just way too much gun for me, so I sold it. Then I got the little 380.
Susan was familiar with using a gun, and she kept them for self-defense. Till now, the detectives are getting more and more pieces to the puzzle. Susan practiced using guns, she didn't like AJ at all, and she shot AJ, who was banging the door without even checking what was going on, or if AJ was armed. Little by little, things are slipping out of Susan's hands, and the topic is turning more into an intentional murder rather than self-defense. With that, it is now time to start with the hard questions.
So since the last time you and I talked, I went in the house. We, did the stuff inside the house as far as photographing, looking at where everything is at related to where the door is. And you said you had shot from the kitchen. So when you come in, it's like a kitchen table.
The table that's there, the 2 seats with the table.
Okay,
that's where I shot from.
That's where you shot from. Okay, like right next to it.
Yes.
Or like further back.
It was. I remember the table being there.
Okay. How were you holding the gun when you fired it?
Like
with
that.
2 hands?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you were initially in the kitchen when, you went to the restroom and then you were in the kitchen looking for your phone while she was pounding on the door. And you say that you believe it was between 2 and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Was that total time from when the first counting started to the time that you fired the shot, 2 to 5 minutes? Or do you think it was shorter time than that or longer?
To me, it seemed like 2 to 5 minutes.
2 to 5 minutes total.
Well, by the time I shot the weapon, at least 5 minutes.
Okay.
So.
Did she ever try to open that glass sliding door or open the door handle or anything like that, or was it just the pounding?
I just remember her pounding and pounding and pounding.
Okay. So you said that you kept the firearm in the trash can in the bedroom. So at some point, did you go?
Yes.
So you thought about it and said, I might need this, or?
Absolutely. I got terrified. I was so terrified she was going to come in and kill me.
Okay. So you left the kitchen area?
Yes.
And that's when you went to your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Where was the other gun at that time? Do you know?
I thought it was right there.
The Ruger?
I thought the Ruger was right there.
I mean, we found, yeah, it was, but you said that you used the 380, right?
Yeah.
When you fired the gun? Okay. Is there any reason why you chose that gun aside the other one? They were both loaded, right?
They were both loaded. It's just the one I picked up.
Okay. Did you handle the other gun at all?
I don't remember. Honest to God, don't remember.
Okay. Because the reason I asked is when we went in there, the 22 was actually on top of the 380. So, I'm just trying to figure out how it is that you went in there, took the 380, fired the 380, went back, and you would have put it back in there, but then the other gun was on top of it. So I'm just trying to figure out if maybe, you're just moving stuff around after things happened or something fell. I'm just trying to understand.
It may have fallen off the bed. I don't know. I just remember looking for my phone, and I just remember I put the gun back in. So, there's all kinds of papers in there, so it could have flip-flopped.
The detectives are trying to find out if there are any gaps to Susan's story, as those are the points they need to challenge first. But for them to find any gaps, they need to uncover each and every detail from her interaction with the children till the confrontation that night.
We heard that you said the F word and the B word. These are what the kids are saying.
I definitely dropped F-bombs.
Okay, and what are you saying the F word to?
Pick your shit up.
Referring to stuff on the ground or something. And when we say the B word, what are you referring to that? Who are you talking to? What are you saying when you use that language?
B word.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is, but I don't really know. Have you said that word to them?
Remember.
Or the bastard, possibly?
I don't know. Could have been either one.
Yeah.
Are those words that you've used when you're outside around the kids or something like that?
If they were really annoying me, I may have let one slip.
Okay. And how would they really annoy you? Like just
screaming. They would scream.
The screaming, and that would maybe let one slip. Okay.
But the girls would do something so stupid. I've never seen anything like this before. They would go face to face with one another and see who could scream louder.
Yeah.
5 feet outside my door. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, why? We want to see who screams louder. I'm like, take it over to your house.
Sure. Okay. So Detective Sith has been talking to you about the timeline, okay? And some of the work we've done. Now, this is a picture that I draw. I'm not an artist at all, but when I tell you some of the work we've done, we spoke to all the people over. This is your house, by the way. Okay, this is we'll put an S for you. We spoke to everybody in these buildings. We spoke to them all in these buildings, and we talked to anybody that had cameras that would see different areas. These cameras, they hear things. We're able to hear audio. We're able to hear things like that. And everyone that we interviewed, I pretty much got the same, Detective Stith, I think we all got the same statement from every single person we interviewed. We didn't line them up. These people were interviewed in different locations. Some of them were interviewed in different buildings in different places. I interviewed them at different houses, and all these people provided me similar statements, okay?
The statements from the neighbors, which were essential for the case, put Susan in a very tight spot. Slowly but surely, Susan's story is falling apart, and all that the detectives need now is to look for the opportunity where Susan ensnares herself.
No one that provided these people could hear her talking. Okay, because she was talking loudly. You said that you could hear it through the wall, and I can agree with that. Okay, she made a statement, something to the effect of, "Why did you take my kid's iPad?" Okay, somebody heard her say that.
I never touched an iPad. I never saw the iPad. I don't know what this iPad is about.
A tablet or something like that.
Again, no tablet, no iPad, no electronics at all. It was never there, or at least I never saw it.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
Was she? Maybe she's wrong, but was she asking you about a tablet or accusing you of something with a tablet or an iPad? I don't know if it's an iPad or a tablet. She could have?
She could have.
Okay. You seem unsure of some of the stuff she's saying through the door. Did she say you're not really sure if she said that?
She could have said it during her rants.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's saying these things. The thing is everything that we've learned so far, I have not learned of her ever saying to you that she wanted to get into the house. It sounded more like she wanted to talk to you outside of the house.
How do you want to talk to outside the house when you're banging and screaming?
Yeah,
that's not reasonable.
One of the people said that she said, "Come outside."
That's not. I'm sorry.
Come out.
That's not what.
It's not reasonable and prudent.
The detective couldn't help but notice Susan saying law terms like reasonable and prudent, so he's going to bring that out. But for now, let's continue with the interrogation.
I mean, you just don't, bang and expect someone to come out. Yeah, I think I'll come outside so you can,
Well, I know. I mean,
seriously.
What she's learned, what I'm learning, what these people said is that she was saying to come outside. She wanted to confront you about something. She wanted you to come outside. Do you remember her making statements and asking you to come out there and talk to her?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay, so you don't remember that, and you seem unsure about some of the statements she made about the tablet. No one that we've interviewed so far has made any statements about her saying that she wanted to kill you.
That's what I heard.
Okay. You said you were so in fear and you're shaking. Is your memory affected regarding this incident in some way?
I just remember being terrified that she was banging and screaming, and I just remember hearing her say, "I'm going to kill you." Her son, earlier in the night, before I called the police, I don't know how old he is, but he said, "I'm going to make sure you get killed tonight."
Which son? She has two sons.
I know. I don't remember. It was one of her sons, but he was there. He's like, "I'm going to make sure you get killed. I'm going to make sure that, And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Has this person ever showed you a weapon or anything like that?
No. But, I mean, the little kid said it, and then all of a sudden his mom's coming over, and she's banging and screaming. And
now, I asked you this earlier. You said you can't see out there, but you've only seen her a few times. Mm-hmm. What means does she have to harm you through the wall?
Like I said, she was banging so much, everything was shaking and moving.
Now that house,
which I couldn't believe because it's a cement block house.
That was my next question. So it's a cement block house, and the deadbolt was activated, right?
The deadbolt was activated, right? And you just didn't have the chain lock?
I was going to say, I remember I didn't have the chain. I'm not quite sure if I had the deadbolt on or not.
Okay. I believe the last time we talked, you said you had the deadbolt, but you didn't want to get back close to the door to do the chain, is from what I recall. And you said you had the extra long deadbolt just installed recently?
Charles did it.
Okay, Charles.
So that's what the deadbolt's activated, the door's closed, it's a block house. I'm just trying to understand what made you so in fear of this woman if you have these things between you.
When we had spoken previously on the other time when she screamed at me and I finally acquiesced, I said, "Whatever you want, I'm so sorry." She followed me, I thought, behind me up until I went into the house. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, she gave me the creeps.
Susan is trying her best to make the detectives understand that she acted out in self-defense. But we just heard that the door was well shut, and she was never in any threat with the bolted door in between her and AJ. This actually makes Susan's excuses illogical.
Susan, I'm looking at this from the outside here, and this really is not adding up to me. You used the word reasonable and prudent earlier. That's an interesting series of words to use. That's like a series of words that we use as law enforcement officers when we try to look at things. And there's a big jump here that you're making logically I can't seem to make the jump. I'm having a really hard time getting there. You've known this woman for 1.5 to 2 years. Your only communications were 2 to 3 times. The dog's pooping, and then there was another time where you called her. You said, "I'm sorry," about calling your kids some names, and she followed behind you. You thought that was creepy. She's never threatened you. She's never displayed a firearm towards you. She starts yelling on your patio area, banging hard on your door, which your door is locked, and then you're scared. Now you're saying that you're scared, which, okay, I can get to that. I can get to that point that you're scared. There's someone knocking on your door.
No, it wasn't knocking. It was pounding.
Pounding. There's someone pounding on your door. Right. There's someone pounding on your door. They're pounding on your door, and I can't get to the point where pounding on the door leads to you being hurt or killed. I can't get.
Because I thought she was going to break the door down. The door, you could see that it was all repaired and re-repaired and all that crap like that. So I never felt that door was secure.
You have an extended deadbolt, and you've never been in any kind of violent situation where someone's kicked in your door or like Kool-Aid Man through your entire wall. There has not been that situation. So I'm trying to do the reasonable and prudent. I'm trying to come into your shoes there, and I'm having a hard jump there because describe to me, AJ, what does she look like?
Tall black woman, heavy set.
Okay. Does she have a very muscular? You've only known her for 1.5 years. You only had so many communications. I mean, is she like a muscular person that's able to, like, I don't know, do extreme feats of strength? And does she weight train in her front yard? Help me understand this.
No,
I that's what I'm trying. I'm having a hard time with this.
He's just trying to understand how we got from the point of someone
creepy. But to get to, she's gonna get through the wall is where I can't get there. I don't understand. What if, and I was thinking about this earlier, what if the police officer had already arrived and she is loud and she's still yelling, and now the officer's standing in front of the door and he does some knocks, but she's still on that darn patio yelling, and you're shooting, you can't see, there's no peephole, there's no window, there's nothing, and then you shoot, and what if the darn officer was on the other side of the door?
Susan may not have had enough time to think, but firing a shot without knowing what was happening outside the locked door was undeniably reckless. Therefore, the detectives have to piece together the events using pure logic. However, she continues to insist it was an act of self-defense, so whether she fully comprehends the situation remains uncertain.
I can't get there, and I don't understand entirely what was going on in your mind. And I don't see how that is entire. Were you on alcohol or anything like? I gotta ask these questions. Were there anything in your mind that would impair yourself in your judgments?
I took Belgica earlier in the day.
What is that?
It's it was for my back.
Okay, is that a narcotic?
Yes.
I'm not a muscle relaxer. I'm guessing here.
No, it's a pain reliever.
Okay, it's a pain reliever. Mm-hmm. And does that have like something on the bottle that it would?
It's a film.
Okay. Does that like don't use motor vehicles or something like that? What does it do to you? How does it make you feel?
It just makes me sleepy.
It's called, what is it called?
Belbuca.
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 Okay.
Does that have to do with your artery issue in your kidney?
No, I had a car wreck. It was, so I had a fusion on my lower back. Fusion in my neck, and then laminectomy in my lower back. Mm-hmm. And I've got this thing that goes backwards. So I have some issues.
Okay.
And I have a torn rotator cuff.
Okay. And do you have issues with any kind of previous, from the car accident, I have to ask, a head injury which would impair your memory or affect your memory or anything like that?
Don't remember. I think I hit my head on the steering wheel from the accident.
Okay. Do you suffer time and spatial memory issues where you can't remember certain amounts of time and things like that? And the reason that I asked that is you have indicated that this was somewhere between like 5 to 10 minutes or something. Am I getting that right, Detective Stiff? Okay. From the cameras that we've looked at in the area here, this incident did not last for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, from the people that we spoke to, there's aspects of this that I can agree about. She's talking loud. She's banging on that door. We're going to agree with that. But the actual number of knocks, you did 3 knocks, and then you said there was a pause.
I never said 3.
Well, you said bang, 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 and then she stopped. which I counted 3. Now,
Okay.
if there was something different, you can tell me. I'm just
Okay.
I was remembering earlier. You said bang, bang, bang. There was 3. Then she stopped, and then she continued to, and then what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has led me to believe as an investigator that it was like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, maybe it just seemed like it was longer.
Okay.
Probably because, the adrenaline rush and just getting so upset. And
Sure. Whenever adrenaline comes in, it can make things seem like they stretch out. From some of the other statements we've got, some of the things that we've learned, it sounds more like there was 3 knocks and then there was 3 more and then she was shot. It sounds like this was very quick. It sounds like this was like within a span of less than 20 seconds is what I would say. Is it possible that your time is off on this?
could be.
Okay.
Because to me, it felt like forever.
Okay.
While it may not be immediately apparent, Susan exhibits subtle signs of a mental health condition, potentially bordering on paranoia. Though this isn't a definitive conclusion, her statements and her fear strongly suggest so. But if this is not the case, a more troubling possibility arises. The act could have been a premeditated murder.
So I've noticed there's been some gaps in your memory, and that's why I've asked you about your memory, because some of the specific things that I asked, specifically this, you say, I'm not sure, I don't remember. And that's happened a couple times while we've been talking today. So I'm trying to better understand that is why you don't remember some of these things specifically, or what's going on. I don't know if it's something you feel shameful or embarrassed about. I don't want you to feel that way while we're talking. I'd rather you just be honest with me. But that's why I've been asking you some of those things. Is there?
And that's only because, again, Dad was Hungarian, Mom was Polish, and it came up in the conversation. So they asked me to go to my friend Sheila and ask her, what does the N-word mean? And her mom said, no, it just means that someone who doesn't work, someone who is not productive, someone who is not, acting normally, lawfully.
Sure. Okay. And in the times that you...
I'm sorry. There's just a lot of other words that are, I believe, out there to describe those things as well. I mean, what is it in particular about that word or slave boy?
I never said slave boy. I never said the word slave. Never.
Okay.
So I don't know why you keep coming back to this.
Well, that's just
someone had mentioned, and like I said,
never uttered
that you used the word slave or
no, absolutely not.
Something like that. Is there any reason why anybody would have a video like that? Is there any reason why that would exist?
No, there shouldn't be. Shouldn't be anything like that.
Okay.
At this point in the interrogation, Susan appears to be genuine, but the neighbor's statements remain a critical factor to consider. Moreover, her soft explanation of the racial slur, using the N-word, along with her showing innocence despite the accusations against her, makes her entire defense unconvincing at best.
Something that caught my ear, like when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned the words, and I asked you to repeat it because I wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You had mentioned terminology like reasonable and prudent in reference to how AJ was acting at your door while she was trespassing and everything. Where did that come from, that terminology? Is that
watching TV?
Watching TV? Okay. Like documentary stuff, or like what do you...
Probably just crime shows and stuff.
Crime shows? Okay. And I have to ask you this. Have you done any research on like the laws as far as like in Florida, as far as self-defense and things like that?
I looked at it today.
You looked at it today?
When I was on Facebook. Just some things that, they had it up on Facebook.
Describe that. What did you, specifically, what you were reading about and learning about? They said self-defense, and I'm trying to think of how else I looked at today. Such crap. Mostly emails. But I just remember saying self-defense, and there was a bunch of lawyers and stuff like that.
So, prior to today, even the last time that you and I spoke on very early Saturday morning, you use some of that same kind of terminology in describing the situation that occurred at your front door. Prior to today, had you ever done any kind of research like that? And other than basically before this incident occurred at your door, but we're not talking like a couple years ago. We're talking about within the last few months. Would there be, because your internet browser, even if you delete it or you go on private browser, if we take a look at those things, because we did go through your phone, the judge signed an order for us to be able to do that. He agreed that there was reasonable enough evidence to be able to do that. So if that were the case, if we were just to look through that, would there show anything that you were looking up, stand your ground or self-defense laws in Florida on the internet?
I don't know. I looked up tons of stuff.
Is it a possibility that you looked that up?
Could have been. I don't know.
Okay.
This is important for the case because if Susan knew about Florida's laws, she could have used them to her advantage to shoot AJ and still be protected by the law. It could turn out to be a clever murder plan rather than self-defense. But hypothetically, even though it was all planned and Susan thought she would be safe, she was actually wrong. AJ was still outside her house, barred by a closed door, and Susan shot her from the inside through the door. The Florida Stand Your Ground law allows for civilian firearm use only when there is the threat of bodily harm or death. However, in Susan's case, there was none. As such, there is no law in Florida that could protect her.
Okay.
Sorry, no.
Okay, so while I was out there going through the notes and everything, I went through because...
I mean, that's what I heard. That's why I was so in fear of my life. I was like, Jesus Christ, she's pounding on my door. She's going to break in. She's going to kill me.
But is it a possibility? If you believe that there was 10 minutes to 15 minutes, adding in 10 minutes before it started, and then approximately another 5 minutes on top of that, that you believe that 2 minutes was 15 minutes, was it a possibility that maybe you thought you heard that, but it wasn't that what she actually said?
I have no idea. That's what I heard.
At this stage, Susan's words no longer carry much weight. She didn't even wait 2 minutes for the police to arrive before taking AJ's life. Her defense is weak, leaving only two plausible conclusions. Either she was completely paranoid, or she intended to kill AJ. Regardless, either scenario provides the detectives and the law with sufficient grounds to proceed.
I'm banging on the door. I want to talk to you about the kids. They're making statements like that. We've interviewed other people that it was a very brief interaction, and then you shot them. Now, this wasn't a long siege. It wasn't a castle siege. It didn't last for 20, 30 minutes. It was 2 minutes. So you're trying to tell us that a reasonable person would shoot somebody for less than 2 minutes of making statements outside. That doesn't make any sense. So that I have to look on the scale here. Where is Susan? Did she plan this? Is she a cold-blooded killer that plans things? Was this an accident? Or was this something that got out of hand? Is it somewhere in the middle? That makes more sense. Not what Susan's telling me. Is it somewhere in the middle? Because I know that I talked to detectives. This has happened a few times during our interview also. You have these, I don't remember. There's been a couple times that you don't remember. And these are important things to remember. And you're not able to remember them.
With all the gaps in her story and all the things she couldn't remember, the decision was easy for the detectives.
All right, we're going to have you go with this deputy here.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No what?
I can't.
What's wrong? What's going on?
I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't do this.
I mean, unfortunately, we're to that point where that's what's going to happen. Obviously, this isn't a conviction. This is you being charged, and then you're going to have your day in court.
Susan was charged with first-degree manslaughter and appeared in court in June 2023. It was not just the murder that took precedence, but the topic of racism also equally riled up the people gathered around the court. However, the case wasn't as simple as it looked. There were many complex scenarios in the story that kept asking for more evidence, and Susan was headstrong in pleading not guilty. AJ's family wanted to upgrade the charge to second-degree murder, believing Susan killed AJ with malicious intent. However, this failed to gain traction due to a lack of sufficient evidence to support a second-degree murder charge. On August 16, 2024, Susan was found guilty of first-degree felony manslaughter with a firearm and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. There's a significant possibility that Susan was not in a stable mental state and was possibly even paranoid. Yet she had easy access to not one, but 2 guns, leading to the devastating outcome of a mother losing her life. While there may not be enough evidence to definitively label this as a hate crime, Susan's statements about AJ strongly suggest otherwise. And to make matters worse, the issue of racism was a significant factor in the case. Although Susan didn't remember if she ever used racial slurs, the statements from the people who knew her told a different story. It's an altogether tragic story, leaving only one hope that AJ's family finds the strength to endure this heartbreaking loss. Why would Susan call the authorities only to point the barrel at an otherwise innocent woman mere moments later? Did Susan really kill AJ in self-defense, or was there something else involved? Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you have any case in mind that you want us to cover, don't hesitate to leave your suggestions in the comment section below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Real Crime Psychology to uncover more disturbing cases from around the world. Until next time, stay safe.